All right, we're back with another video, and this is also to do with the Boston Bruins. Another trade that took a while to get finalized, and this one is Bruins trading Brandon Carlo to the Toronto Maple Leafs. And this is for a 2026 first-round pick, top 5 protected, 2025 fourth-round pick, originally a Philadelphia Flyers pick, and prospect Fraser Minten, one of their top prospects, not their top prospect, Easton Cowan, but still one of their top guys. So Justin, what did you think about this one? Brandon Carlo, one of the top defensemen, did talk about it in a video just before, talking the Marchand trade that they lost him to. So what do you think about this trade for the Bruins and the Maple Leafs?
Well, for the Bruins, I like the return. I think they did pretty good here. They get this is more than what they really got for Linus Ullmark, and so if you compare it there, I mean, they get a first, they get a prospect who can reasonably be on their roster. I think they did pretty good here. Again, this is another move that could set up a retool, maybe a rebuild. You're getting assets for a veteran player that maybe you can't really maximize anymore now that you're not truly contending. So there's not much that we know right now because it's just a draft pick and a prospect, but I think the Bruins did good, all things considered. And I believe it was Pittsburgh who was retaining him, so they didn't even have to retain. Yeah. The return is good. And then shifting over to Toronto, they're going all in again. They've been going all in for what feels like a while. They're not afraid to trade their picks if it means getting better, more physical. That's 2 firsts gone for Lawton and for Carlo. That's, you're getting deeper, which is good, to surround your stars with, good depth. That's what you need. Matthews, Marner, and Nylander, those are 3 of the best players in the sport, and they can't do it themselves. I understand that they've had some playoff issues, and their play has kind of declined when you get to this time of year, but at the same time, you just need to get as good as you can and hope that they figure it out, because you're not going to win anyway if they're not contributing. So maximize your depth, and they're going all in, and it sends a good message to their players, to their coach, to everybody in the organization. We want to win again this year.
And Carlo is, of course, he's one of their top. He was Bruins, one of their top defensemen. And played in their top 4. Probably has been the last few seasons, and has turned into a really good defenseman in the NHL. So I mean, you're looking at a guy that's he's ready for big minutes. Penalty killing is going to be big too. I think he's going to end up being a really big piece of the Maple Leafs, and they've got a pretty good defense already. Surprisingly, Oliver Ekman-Larsson has turned into a really serviceable defenseman again. I wish he was that in Vancouver, but he wasn't. And then you're looking at Chris Tanev. He is injured right now, but he will be back. And then adding Carlo to that mix with Morgan Riley, that is a really good top 4. And then McCabe there, and that top 4 is actually really good. So they did upgrade, and that's something that I think the Maple Leafs, I don't know if they necessarily needed it, but they definitely are loading up for this year, and we'll see how it kind of goes in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they're well equipped. It's just a matter of, who knows what happens. This is a very deep Eastern Conference, or should I say top heavy. Washington is very good. Carolina is very good. New Jersey is very good. Well, they lost Hughes, so maybe not so much, but that's not even their division. They got Florida and Tampa. It's going to be a battle just to get out of the first round. And for the record, it's going to be a battle for those other teams as well. Tampa has it hard too if they play Toronto. But they're giving themselves a shot.
Yeah.
And I like that. They're a strong team, and they can afford to run it back because of how, I wouldn't say young anymore, but their stars are in their prime. You can run it back as much as you want as long as your stars are as good as they are. So you don't really care about the draft picks as much, even though when they actually used the first round pick on Easton Cowan, it's worked out well to this point. he's still young in his career. He hasn't gone to the NHL yet or played pro, but you can afford to spend the picks if it means going for a cup.
Yeah, and then you're looking at the Bruins, which, I mean, their prospect pool is not that strong. I mean, you're adding Fraser Minten, who's, had some pretty good games in the NHL this season already, too. Looks like an NHL player. And, I think he really fits the style the Bruins always play, that in-your-face, hard play. And Minten is that type of player. So I think he'll fit into the lineup, maybe not as a regular right now, but he does upgrade their young talent that, hasn't been there for a bit, because, I mean, they make the playoffs all the time. They always get these lower picks. They're not having a lot of first-round pick success, even way back when they had those 2 in a row or whatever it was.
It was 3.
Those players weren't really weren't that good. So, I think Minten's going to really add to that. And hopefully maybe Fabian Lysell will be part of that too. So I think getting Minten, and then, of course, the first-round pick, which will be a late first. I mean, 2026. I think the Maple Leafs are going to be a top team next year too, so that pick's going to be a lower one. So I like what the Bruins got in return for Carlo. And I think even for the Maple Leafs side, they got a really good defenseman, like I said. So overall, I think it was actually good for both sides. Pretty fair trade.
The division rival aspect is definitely one that I think the Boston side will be a little bit weary of. That they're not really a division rival. We're helping the Toronto Maple Leafs.
It's true.
Toronto's okay with it, though. I'm sure they're okay taking home Carlo.
Yeah, and like we said in the Marchand video, with not sure what the Bruins are here. Are they retooling, rebuilding? 2 big pieces off their roster. They still are within shot of the playoffs. They do make it. These 2 guys would have helped, and they didn't get anyone in return to replace them. So I think it's really direction of, I think they're kind of punting on this season. Who knows? They could make it. You never know down the stretch what happens. That one year where, who was it that just snuck in? It was the Panthers, where right on the last day. So you never know what can happen here. So the Bruins could sneak in, and I think they'll regret these trades then if that does happen. But we'll see how that all goes. Make sure to check out everything at thehockeywriters.com. We've got great stuff going on with the trade deadline. And now once that's over, the NHL draft, we've talked about draft picks. Make sure, because we'll shift completely to that after all the trade deadline coverage. So keep an eye out for all the draft content as well. So until our next video, we will see you next time.